Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. Well, I did for a little bit. But this week, we've got the Gold Hoarders coming in for the end of the month episode. We have a community weekend to address, as well as all of the news around Sea of Thieves, getting its update, and going to PlayStation 5. All that and more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. But before we get into any of that, I want to thank the patrons. They are the ones that are supporting this content and more. They're the ones that helped me get a new PC. They are helping me get to Festive Legends, and their support means the world to me. So I want to give them their due diligence by thanking them every episode, just to make sure that they know I appreciate their support. So thank you to L Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Hatchet, Captain Hayes, Captain Longshark, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Iron John, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, I'm Dependa Now, Jorby Jorbs, J Hood, Carl Embo, Kazia the Aficionado, Cryptic Slayer, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Munis Max, Nipperkim, Norwegian, Raja the Brave, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Replicated Flame, Rustbell Kid, Skamelt 666, Captain Dasm, Tommy D, TN Professor, Rio Big Tuna, Big Bag Pad, Adorabold, Mina Fairy, Anthony N. Jr., Captain J. Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, The Lore Chronologist, Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H., Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore, The Insipid Ghost, and Zam Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. If you heard this and you want your name shouted out as well, you can always head over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to show your support for this content. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. All right, pirates, this week I am in the room with the Gold Hoarders. I was late this episode, and there are a few things that I wanted to address before I get into the episode proper. We got to have our Twitch drops for community weekend this week. There was some really awesome stuff that actually came out as a result, but because I was actually playing during the time that I jumped onto recording, I didn't get to see some of the information that came out as a result of this community weekend. There was a Game Blast, like kind of charity that was going on, and I wanted to shout that out because they managed to pull in some really good money for special effects. So thanks to everyone that was streaming this weekend to try and do their 24-hour Game Blast for special effect. I believe they managed to raise 3,645 pounds, which was all going to charity. It was really awesome that they did that. I think Behaving Beardly won the weekend with committing to bringing Obsidian Underpants to the game and support of that. So really nice to see that. I know the devs were on stream helping support this as well too. It was really awesome to see, and it was really nice. It's one of those things where I want to acknowledge this, because when you guys listen to the episode, you're going to hear the side of me that came off of the frustration that happened as a result of some exploits that were found during the weekend. Also, if you're listening to this, I'm really hoping that you decided to continue watching for Twitch drops, because we got the Obsidian Drapes announced as a drop as well too. In fact, as of recording this, it's a Sunday morning. I'm actually working on the episode as we speak, and I've got Fuzzy Bond up, who is usually my go-to for drops, because he's, for one, he's always on, and for two, he and I always have a good conversation whenever we're in chat. So I'm watching him to get my Obsidian drop. It's the last hour that I need to get for the Twitch drops this weekend. And I'm really excited to see that we got the amount of dives. Apparently, it was 100,000 dives to be able to unlock the Obsidian Drapes, and it was 500 hours streamed to be able to get a grade 5. I had a lot of trouble this community weekend, and maybe it's just because I didn't read multiple times like what the requirements were going to be for it. But I do see that a lot of people managed to get some good loot out of this, and I'm glad to see it too, because I think that unfortunately there was some issues, and you'll hear about those as we kind of go into it. And I'm going to sound frustrated, but that was of the time. I still think that at the end of the day, what Rare decided to do was not necessarily the best approach, because it did punish everyone as opposed to just letting it slide. And I think at the end of the day, it would have been easier and better just to let people have the fun. Or if they're going to exploit, let them exploit for this weekend, and then work on a fix that's actually going to come in after the community weekend. Because a lot of people heard about what was going on, found out by word of mouth, and then unfortunately kind of killed Athena for the weekend, which was kind of a shame. So if you guys listen to this, just understand that there was some context to why I came off the way I did. But I really enjoyed the conversation that we did have with the Gold Hoarders. I think this is probably one of the cooler episodes to have the Gold Hoarders on, just because of the news that came out this week and getting their opinion on what's going to be going on. It's nice to feel like they have a vested interest in the game, even if it's going to be going to other platforms and stuff.
And now, the final crowning touch to this cake. Take
Welcome everyone to the February Gold Hoarder episode for 2024. We are in the midst of a community weekend. I showed up late to this because I was streaming and did not realize how much time can pass when you're sailing from island to island. We've got quite a cast of characters for you all this week. I'm very happy to have everyone dropping by to kind of chat and just share their thoughts on this. So we're going to be jumping into a few different topics this week, because I think there's some very interesting things that I genuinely want to know what your all feedback is on this, because it's stuff that I think is both good for the game, but also poor communication from the game. So I definitely want to talk about this, but we're going to go down the list as we always do to talk and share who's here and how they're doing. So first up, we've got Carl Embo. Carl, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Good to be back.
Yeah, I'm glad you're back too. It's good to talk to you. We'll have to check in about family streams and stuff as well too. Next up, we have Norwegian. Norwegian, how you doing?
Doing well. Welcome everybody. Hope everybody's doing well.
Awesome. Glad to have you back. I know it's been a while. As always, consummate professional, Regis Stella. Regis, how you doing?
I'm doing good, considering it's my mum's birthday today.
Oh man. Well, I hope you're doing something to celebrate, even if she's not.
Unfortunately, we didn't realize until it was too late, so
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
There's always.
All I'm gonna say is the best people are born on the 24th of February.
It's actually the 25th here.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
Australia, remember?
You gotcha so good. And then last but not least, we have Static Mirror. Static, how you doing?
Not too bad. Got hot dogged by my crew.
Oh my.
They knew I had to drop out to come into this Gold Hoarder recording.
Yeah.
And my fiance was going to take my place for the sell-off. So they hot dogged me until I left. So that way she could get all the loot.
Oh man. Well, I do appreciate you guys dropping in. It is the midst of community weekend, and I'm going to start this off already with a little bit of venting by how I was in the middle of streaming, and I started to notice that the Athena sea forts that I was doing, because I figured I would log on, I'd do some sea forts because we needed dives to be able to get this community weekend gold up to grade 5. And I was thinking, okay, well, the quickest thing to do is dive to a sea fort. I can knock those out pretty quick, and they're definitely easy enough as a solo person to be able to handle without losing too much. And as I started to turn stuff in, I started to kind of notice the value that for this loot was significantly reduced. And it's just, I was very surprised. I was like, that's weird. These are usually worth a lot more. Like, if it's supposed to be double gold, double glory weekend, why does this not feel like it's as impactful as it should be? So then I venture over to the Sea of Thieves Discord while streaming and notice this little excerpt that came to us from the devs, and it says, after close monitoring of today's events, we've made some temporary changes to the value of select items to ensure a fairer reward for certain behaviors. Now, I'm going to open this up to the gold hoarders. What do you all think that actually means? And I know some of you already have some of that information, so I'll ask you to kind of like keep it under wraps, but just based off of that one line, could any of you give me like a definite answer on what that actually entails?
So when I seen that, I assumed that it was like they're rebalancing like all this new perhaps, or like they're putting more higher tier loot in the more time consuming ones. So you know how you get your little timer thing on it on each quest. I assume that maybe they're putting like more value on the ones obtained for them. So it's like maybe chucking an Athena, for example, in the higher rate ones, or something along those. That's how I read it. But obviously, I've not been in yet, so I don't know.
Static, I saw you had popped open. What do you think?
My guess, maybe it has something to do with the ledgers.
Mm.
It's to make it fair for everybody that doesn't really have a chance to get on all the time. So they lower the Athena loot to lower the ledgers from just skyrocketing and completely knocking certain people out for by the end of the month.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any quick thoughts on that, or should I kind of talk about my experience?
Just from what you read right there, that tells me something wasn't rewarding correctly, and that they wanted to balance it out, that be it something was way over rewarded or under rewarded. But no, I'm not sure what they mean exactly by that. I wish they would have given a little more detail as to what it is they're looking at.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so my experience, and I'll share with you, and I think this might be the cause, and thanks to the community members that I talked to in one of the channels for the boatswains. I was doing C-Forts for Athena C-Forts, and the Athena voyage crates that are in there, we're paying out about 4K at the start of the latest patch, the rebalance that we had, right? And that made a C-Fort roughly worth about 19, maybe 20K total if you grabbed everything. And that was with whatever you could get for like the first one with a grade 3 flag that you got at the end of completing one of those. Like you could get up to grade 3. It took 3 C-Forts to be able to get grade 5, but just off of one C-Fort, that was about 20K. And I went and turned in some voyages or some of those crates, and I started to notice like the one that I grabbed to turn in was only worth 440 on community weekend, where it's supposed to be double gold. And I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know what people are doing, but had I not seen the message in the Discord, I can imagine a lot of people, myself included, being very frustrated after finding out that all of the Athena loot in a C-Fort is worth trash right now. It is not even worth doing those unless you're trying to get a grade 5. So I don't know what extent it is, but the issue that I take with this isn't so much the gold, because, you know, gold is, you can make gold just about anywhere. It's tons of gold. But it's the poor communication that came as a result of this. I haven't checked Twitter. I shouldn't have to check Twitter. But there's no information in the game that explains that there's been a change to the value of items. So if you're just a normal person going in, playing the game naturally, you're not trying to exploit anything, you're just doing what you think is a fun thing to do to work towards your ledgers, and you realize that something is off, there's nothing in the game to tell you that this is an intended choice that was made and not just a random bug. And that is frustrating to me. I don't know. Am I alone in this, or does that resonate with you guys when you hear this?
Yeah, it does. I mean, just it would be nice if I decide to make like a little, message in the game instead of just making like, you have to check your Discord, your Twitter, anything other than just, the game itself. Just would be nice. It would be nice to have, these notifications in game, like say like a parrot swoops down and just delivers you a message like a flying letter or something like that, like Hogwarts style, if you will.
Yeah,
it is strange there's no way of really communicating much in game. The only way they've really done it as of late is you wake up with a letter basically stuck to your head. Other than that, there's not really been any way, has there? No.
Yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm gonna get over it, but I really dislike the lack of communication, and the only communication that we have is so vague that it doesn't offer a sense of security for the people that are playing the game, because at any point, if I'm doing Athena Seaforts and they change something, I don't know if what I'm doing is going to be considered an exploit. So am I at risk because I was streaming and happened to be doing Athena Seaforts when this came out? I don't think so, but I'm not 100% certain either. I just wanted to get this out into the open that I think that the communication needs to be stronger. I think it needs to be more clear. If you're going to be addressing the value of loot in the game, you need to tell us what that loot is, not just leave it up to the I'm subtweeting you to let you know that I know what you're doing kind of thing, because that's not good communication from a company. That's what people do to argue on Twitter. I did want to get into some actual conversation about Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5. This was an announcement that came out this week. We found out that Rare is going to be producing their first game on a Sony platform for the first time in the 45 years, I think we're closing in on 45 years that the company's been in existence. So really kind of surprised by this. Did anybody see this or have any thoughts on what you think of Sony getting Sea of Thieves and what that community might entail?
So I've obviously, as soon as the rumors started coming out about this, I've said all along that it's the perfect time with all the quality of life they put into the game. You just kind of felt like something was being built up, such as this, especially with like, oh look, we've made it easier to, when you do the maiden voyage, you then wake up on your boat. Oh look, we've got all these new quests, like ways to find things, making it so much easier and quicker. So I think it's, it's been building up for a while, this. The idea of bringing a whole console community on board is really exciting, but at the same time, obviously there's a few issues at the moment, which I'm pretty sure everyone's aware of, which needs to be fixed quite quickly. As long as they get on top of that by the time it launches, I can see it going really, really well. Mm-hmm. And I'm quite excited to see the amount of new people coming into the community, new content creators, and also, as with anytime you bring new people in, new ideas, new things to do in the game, and it's exciting times.
That's a really good point. I hadn't actually even considered the new idea aspect out of this. I figured we'd get new content creators and some new players, but fresh takes on something from their perspective would be good. What did everyone else think of this? Feel free to jump in. Norwegian, let's go with you.
Alrighty. A couple things on my mind about this. Number one, this is 100% a win. Anytime that you open this up to make it accessible to more players and you bring in more community, it's a win. We as gamers win and benefit by this by increasing just the exposure to where you can play. That's been Microsoft's whole thing of play anywhere, whatever you're on. We want you in our ecosystem. And instead of having to, this is how old I am. I remember having to figure out which house we were going to go to as kids because they had a Nintendo 64, they had a PS2. You don't have to do this. This works great. But this just makes me wonder how long they've been working on this, if that's why we had such a long season 9. So in retrospect, a lot of things make more sense now with what they've done.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that one. And it's nice to hear that that you guys all so far seem to be coming into the idea that the more that people are playing this game, the better it'll be. Regis is having some trouble with their microphone. Static, did you have some thoughts on this while we give Regis some time?
Yeah. I enjoy the fact that PlayStation's coming in. New players are fun. And I think it will also drive a slight console war battle again, between player versus player, like, oh, it's better on PlayStation than it is on Xbox, that type of stuff. That's fine. I mean, that's a fun little competition that I enjoy. The only thing I'm not thrilled about is the fact that they pushed back this season already, so that way they can bring in PlayStation at the same time as season 12. So they added like 3 more weeks to the season. At this point in time, I'm just upset with the fact that they keep pushing stuff back. You could have brought in season 12, and then they could have tied in the release of PlayStation on the anniversary date.
Yeah.
So where it would be anniversary number 6 for Xbox and PC, it would be essentially anniversary 1 for PlayStation a year from now.
Yeah.
But the fact that they push back season 12 so that way it coincides with release of PlayStation is upsetting.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I was expecting it to be on March 20th for the launch, because I figured it would have been a perfect way to kick off the anniversary. Is, hey, we're gonna flood the game with a whole new ecosystem. And I'm not really sure why they decided to launch or shoot for April 30th. But the additional increase to season was something that I think went under the radar for not under the radar, but it was a silent delay that Rare seems too comfortable with.
Right, and they haven't even acknowledged it yet online anywhere. They haven't even said, "Hey, here's the reason why we're pushing it back," or, "Sorry, we had to push it back." They haven't even acknowledged this yet.
Yeah, Regis, did you want to jump in on the initial conversation before we dive into the dates and stuff?
Yeah, I'm just gonna wonder about what kind of cosmetics, PlayStation themed cosmetics, mind you, are going to be coming to the game for PlayStation only people. But that's uncharted territory for you. Maybe we get God of War, Ratchet and Clank. I doubt we're gonna get Spider-Man though.
What would you like to have out of all their IPs?
That's a good question. God of War maybe, considering how well that game's turned out to be in the last few installments.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got a set right now that I was playing around with as kind of like a God of War, but I would very much like to have a straight God of War set from them. I want to see if we can go back to the conversation. I don't want to lose the thought of this being a delay. We are going to be delayed for season 11. It is getting extended to April 30th for the launch of the PlayStation version. How are you guys feeling about that? Is any ideas about maybe why they decided to push it out, or what's going on with that?
The only thing I could think of is if they've pushed it back to coincide with the launch of PS5. And I wonder if it's something to do with Microsoft, if they've chosen something about the dates, perhaps. Because I have noticed the games they've announced, I believe they're all staggered dates. So it's not like, oh, from this date, you'll be able to play these 4 games. Mm-hmm. It's like, right, this date, this game comes out. A week later, this game. A week after, that game. So I wonder if it might have been higher powers, potentially. But I do think it would have been better on the anniversary update.
Yeah. I do know that there are at least a few games that are coming out around March 20th. If I'm looking at the list that I have, there's Lightyear Frontier, there's Alone in the Dark, there's Dragon's Dogma 2 on the 22nd, there's Princess Peach Showtime on the 22nd, there's Rise of Ronin on the 22nd. So at least from a PlayStation perspective, they've actually got quite a bit of content getting dropped on that day. And maybe, Carl, I think maybe you kind of nailed it, that Microsoft looked at what's actually coming out and said, hey, we are going to have to get some headway with this. And if we do this on this date, then it's going to effectively kill the launch. Did anyone else have any thoughts they want to jump in with?
Yeah, I just want to know when. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say maybe they just want to try not to compete with Skull and Bones as being their main pirate competitor, air quote.
True.
But I think just I don't know. I just don't see Skull and Bones that worthy of a contender. But like you said last week, like you said in the last episode, Logan, Skull and Bones is not the most competent competitor, but it will just give CFE some competition, if you will.
It's true. The further they put it away from season 1, which Carl mentions in our chat, is February 27th, which is, as of recording, 3 days from now. If it launches in February, it'll be probably mid-season by the time Sea of Thieves is ready to launch on PlayStation, maybe having a little more space away from that content when people are kind of done with season 1 for Skull and Bones. Maybe they want to jump over and try out a new season of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's like what Carl said, just the higher ups kind of just saw the cluster beep of that's happening in March. And okay, maybe not a good idea to release PlayStation CFEs on PlayStation and on the 6th anniversary of the game. So maybe just late the month, sometime the month after. Yeah.
I could definitely see
Xbox. Yeah, I could definitely see it too.
Anybody want to jump in on that as well too before I shift us away?
Could also be that they're just not ready. Fine. Game development's hard. It's a lot of work that goes into it, and we don't know what goes on in the background, but it might not be ready yet. I'd rather them put something out that is ready. I just wish they would stop announcing things before it is, and then it gets delayed and pushed back. That's what drives me crazy. Is just between Rare and Microsoft, just the announcement and how they do their press releases. That needs work.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. They've been very clear that they want to try and be better about the updates and when things are actually going to be launching. Them delaying this and then hiding or masking the delay behind the launch of season, the new season season 12 for, I guess, for PlayStation players. It does feel frustrating to think like, okay, that's 3 more weeks where we're going to have to see like what's actually in this update. Because at the moment, there's no adventure listed on season 11. If you go to the adventure tab in Sea of Thieves and you take a look to see like what's actually in there, it just says ended. There's nothing kind of teasing us about what's going to be coming, if anything's going to be coming adventure wise for season 11. We typically rely on that a lot to kind of get a gauge on like how much content is actually going to be delivered in a season. And currently there's not much on the horizon.
Well, when was the last time we actually had content come out for adventure? I know we had the Monkey Island Tall Tales, but like far as lore goes, everything is ground to a halt and there's no information coming out about it.
It was a year ago.
The last adventure was a year ago?
We had the one that was like the preface with the Sword of Souls being corrupted right before the Monkey Island, but I want to say that was in June, and then we had the delay or the extension of the season, and then it wasn't until the end of July that we actually got the first Tall Tale for Monkey Island.
I thought the last adventure was the one with Briggsy where she went through the portal.
That was the last one for Briggsy's story, before we found out that the Dark Brethren were going to be kind of absconding with her and to find that temple. That's kind of like the last time that we had like a solid story that wasn't tied to Monkey Island, but we did have that one that was just, we had to kind of sail around to try and follow the rat. And then it ended on Port Merrick where the rat ran into the room. And then when you opened up that little door underneath the Port Merrick, it kind of showed you all the different adventures, and it had all the little books and the little mementos in there. And then it had the Sword of Souls. And then we found out that it eventually ended up being, oh my gosh, what's his name? Not Flameheart. LeChuck. It ended up being LeChuck in disguise. And he took the Sword of Souls and corrupted it, and then that was the precursor to the Monkey Island Tall Tales.
So that came out June 22nd. So that was 8 months ago.
Man, so yeah, we still don't know what's going on with that. We have seen that the orb, which apparently is just a thing that goes for whoever's the most powerful, sitting in the Reaper's Tavern or Reaper's Hideout. Suggesting that there's going to be some changes coming to the seas, and we've seen that the Port Merrick Order of Souls representative has some cards on there, and one of the cards represents resurrection in skeleton runes. So we know that they are leading up to story, but we have 0 dates and 0 prospects on when that's going to actually happen, which makes me wonder. I'm hoping that they at least give us the round out to Briggsy's adventures before season 12, just so that they have like an ending to that 2-story adventure that got interrupted by the Monkey Island content.
You see, talking about the Briggsy one, this is something else I thought about with the release to PlayStation, is the amount of current open-ended adventures and lore. So you've got the Dark Brethren, you've got DeMarco, you've got obviously Briggsy. How are the PlayStation players going to come into this for the first time, and then all of a sudden we continue halfway through some of these stories that they can no longer replay? I wonder if there's a way that they could potentially like do some sort of recap of everything to bring everyone up to speed for people who haven't played the game before. Because otherwise, it's going to be quite confusing when suddenly everyone's like, "Oh my god, Flameheart's back," and they're like, "Wait, who's Flameheart?
Yeah.
What's all the hype about? What are you talking about? Big shouty cloud in the sky?" I think that needs to be addressed as well.
I thought they were going to make past adventures replayable. Like it was going to be a section on like the voyages or whatever you can select from your table. I thought for some reason I overheard in one of the podcasts that they were going to make all older adventures playable for story-wise for people to catch up.
I do recall stuff about that. It's kind of like when Mike confirmed that loadouts were coming for cosmetics for clothing. At this point, it feels like something that they want to have happen, but there's no follow up or communication on when that's going to happen. So it's like on the list of things to do. So hopefully we'll hear more about that. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to address the story for PlayStation fans. And currently they've unlocked all of the tall tales, so you don't even have to progress through the tall tales in their natural order. You can just do, you can do the first one with the Shroud Breaker, and you can jump over to the stars in the sky with Suds, and then you could go do the last one with the Shores of Gold. And there's not really any through line with that anymore.
You might want to get Mike Chapman on this podcast again, just to explain like, oh, where's the law going now? Considering like, the absolute again cluster beep that's going on with like the loose ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's. I've reached out to the devs. I haven't heard anything back about being able to get anyone on to be able to talk about the current state or how it's going to be, but definitely been reaching out to them to see if I can get any headway on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's all right. Maybe later on in the year. You definitely need to catch up with Mike Chapman himself.
Yeah, it's been about 6 months at this point since last time I got to talk to him. Did anyone else have any thoughts about how the story is going to play out for PlayStation fans already? I did want to check and see how everyone did with the update that came last week. The install size for console owners was, and for PC actually, I think Steam was the only one that got away with a 10 gig update. How did you guys do as far as the 100 gig install? Was did everything turn out all right? Did you run into any issues? Did you feel like it was a lot more than you were expecting?
It was definitely a lot more than I was expecting, because I got a new PC, had to reinstall Sea of Thieves to this PC, as well as the Insider program. And I'm again, Australian, so Australian internet's not exactly the best internet in the world, so I had to wait longer. So I say I have to wait like a full 24 hours for like the full game to actually, reinstall itself, essentially reinstall the same game twice, if you will. Once to get the game and another to update the game. So yeah, man, that's my situation.
That's brutal. Carl, you said that you're on Steam.
Yeah, so I'm on Steam on my account, so it was nice, quick, done in no time. Oliver had he's got his on the Microsoft Pass, my son, and his update went perfectly fine.
That's good.
But he also hasn't played it much recently this week, so I don't know how that's gone on, but the download itself wasn't too bad. But I've got like the best package broadband available to me.
Yeah, that can definitely make it alleviate a lot of the strain on that one. Norwegian, you said you had no issues on Xbox?
I'm one of the fortunate ones. I know people on PC had some issues, but I was on Xbox and I paid way too much money for my ISP, so it was already done downloading by the time I got up in the morning and fired up, had them with my coffee, and enjoyed it for a minute.
Man, that sounds nice. Static, how was your experience?
I have mine set to automatically update, even if it's not on, so it was done by the time I got done with work.
Oh, wow. Nice. Mine's always 50-50 on that. Some, like, one of my Xboxes updated, but the other one didn't. So I was like, okay, well, I can never tell which one's going to be the one that actually makes it out. So one thing I did want to bring up as well too, this was actually a topic that came in from Godhammer 6. who reached out to say that they wouldn't be able to be on the episode, but they had a really good idea. And the idea was how to make Fort of Fortunes relevant again. And his thought was essentially keep the Athena loot the same, but the rest of the treasure, make it the new kingly treasure stuff. So if you guys have been out and you've done any of the bottle of quests or messages in a bottle, or I guess what's it called? The emergent skeleton captains or a shipwreck, you'll probably have come across some of those kingly treasures, like a king's chest or an ashen king's chest or the crowns, things like that. And those are worth a hefty sum. They are worth quite a bit of gold. And the idea of making the Fort of Fortune relevant, considering it's some of the hardest content in the game, by increasing the value of that treasure. I wanted to open it all to you first to kind of get your thoughts on this before I give my 2 cents on this. But I wanted to see if you think this would be the right approach for making the Fort of Fortunes relevant again. Do you think that Fort of Fortunes are relevant in general? Or do you think that they could do something different altogether?
I think the Fort of Fortune was relevant when they had the Chest of Fortune in it. But yeah, I agree with Godhammer, like, just keep the Athena loot, change the regular loot to kingly treasure to make it, worthwhile loot, to make it like, I don't know, like 1,000, 100K for like, the amount of loot you get, depending on the emissary or not. So yeah, I agree.
So I agree. I think something does need to change. The 2 world events that you cannot dive to, Fort of Fortune and the Fleet of Fortune, because they want them to be focused on PvP. They want that aspect of, of having to sail to it in the open world. You can't just dive to it anymore. They want people to actively, they hear the sound of it spawn and everyone goes to it. But since they removed the Chest of Fortune from there, it's, it's still probably the best fort in the game for loot, but there's not really anything worth fighting over anymore. It's very similar situation with Fort of the Damned, for that matter. You see a Fort of the Damned up, it used to be a case that everyone on the server would come at you. But nowadays, you can pretty much do Fort of the Damned uncontested most of the time. So I think, increasing the amount of loot in there, making it worthwhile, making it something worth fighting over, and where people will actually go, oh, Fort of Fortune's just popped, we should really go do that now and grab this stuff whilst we can. I think it's definitely something that needs to be done.
Alrighty, who else? Static?
Yes. So I agree. It needs to be updated. I will disagree, however, with the kingly loot. Reason being, that kingly loot is everywhere now. Any sunken ship you go to, there's like 3 or 4 pieces of kingly loot. You find a bottle, you dig it up, it's kingly loot. This kingly loot is everywhere, to the point where I think it's redundant to throw it in a Fort of Fortune. Now, my opinion on that is, still keep the Chest of Fortune in there regardless. Because, it's still a sought-after chest. Even if you have only the Fleet up right now with the Chest of Fortune, well, if you also had the Fort of Fortune with the Chest of Fortune, you now have 2 world events that would be constantly contested. And for replacement loot, I would say all the highest tier raid loot possible for like the Gold Hoarders, the Merchants, and the Order of Souls. Because right now, the only way to get that new loot is if it's from a raid. Well, take those high-end pieces and throw them into the Fort of Fortune as well. So you do the Fort of Fortune, you'll get an you'll get a Chest of Legends, you'll get a Fort of the Chest of Fortune, you'll get the new raid loot from all the different factions. It just, make it worth that while. Really put in some sought-after loot into it to really make people want to fight for it. But the kingly loot, like I said, you can find it anywhere. Like today, we went in with literally no goal in mind, and we sailed from sunken ship to sunken ship, and within probably an hour, we sold over like 200,000 gold worth of stuff, and it was all stuff that we found in sunken ships, and that was it.
Man, I'm kind of with you on that. I think that's actually probably an approach that I think would draw a lot more attention to those Fort of Fortunes. Interesting. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I think that's a really good way to approach it.
Because you already have people hopping from server to server looking for the Fleet.
Yeah.
Well, if they know that the Chest of Fortune is still going to be in the Fort of Fortune, they might not want to hop servers because, the Fleet just went down. But then they hear that sound. Oh, the Fort of Fortune is up. Let's go.
I wonder if it would be one of those things where they where you would run into a situation where one person just finished up a fleef, and then they go to turn in as a FOF spawns, and they completely ignore the FOF because they just got done with a fleef.
I'd ignore it. I've got no reason to go to it at the moment, so I've got my chest of fortune. I'm happy. I'll probably go find something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if that's the case, I mean, then it leaves it open for another crew to get a chest. Or if you get that one greedy crew that's like, all right, let's go hand this in. Let's go take this other crew out before they get it too. There are some sweaty, greedy pirates out there.
I could definitely see it going both ways. I actually don't mind either option. I think that we would probably need to be a little more cautious about like how frequent these things pop up. I think maybe it would be like one or the other, and having two up at the same, well, I guess you can't have two at the same time, so that's not a problem, but I'm just trying to think of a way to do it. What if they had a FOF that was only in the roar at Molten Sands?
I was going to say give it the same spawn rate as Molten Sands with that level loot. It'll be amazing. As a matter of fact, I've been saying it for ages. Do that to Molten Sands and get people going back to it, because that is the most underrated fort. It's a challenge. Yes, I understand why people don't like it, but it's so much fun. And if you've ever tried to steal from there, because back in the day when it first started and they had the Chest of Rage in there, I was doing my 5 stolen. So I was actively tucking on that fort without my ship, with the volcano going off, and it was just chaos. And it was amazing. And I want more of it.
What do you guys think? Yay, nay, make it Molten Sands?
I like it. More reason to go over there.
Hey, I hate the Devil's Roar. Change it to an ice biome.
Alrighty. So looking back at some of the topics that I wanted to talk about, we managed to cover the install size for the game. We managed to talk about the Fort of Fortune update. I think that's a really good idea. I like the top tier items coming in over the Kingly stuff. I think the Kingly stuff is cool, but if you really wanted to make that thing contested, add the things that are commendation based to it. Covered Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5. I vented about the Athena stuff that they did today. Overall, though, I think that they did a pretty good job with rebalancing the Athena voyage. So I wanted to dive into that. See, has anyone gotten an opportunity to do the new Athena's voyage? No one.
I've not been able to do it myself yet, but I have heard a lot of positive stories, should we say, from it. So I'm looking forward to getting back into it. I just been dealing with other things recently, so I've not had a chance to get into it, but I'm very excited to actually go and do one of those Athena voyages now. You know, I posted about it probably 2 years ago, saying I've just done this, 35 items in total, and about 5 were actually Athena items. So to see these people posting these pictures on X and Facebook showing the items they get now, it seems to be so much better that I'm actually like I want to do it again.
Yeah, it seems like and I did a couple of the emissary voyages, and from what I've heard, they're fairly similar, where you effectively get 3 maps before the 4th one, and the 3 maps that you get give you 3 pieces each, and then each of those 3 pieces are all Athena's loot, and they're all the new stuff, the things that came in with the veils. And once you get those done, you then get the final voyage, which is still the keg and the chest of legends. So as far as I'm concerned, the emissary voyages for hitting grade 5 for Athena is totally worth it. Very nice to get those. Much better than having to grind out a full veil, given how difficult those, or how long those take compared to an emissary voyage. I haven't gotten to do a regular one because I've been testing the sea fort balance stuff, and that's been a majority of my time on the seas. So I haven't gotten to really mess around with the Athena's voyage, but based on what I've seen, I'm glad that they adjusted it. I think that it was a long time coming, and I think they could have done it when they did the veils back in the day. I'm not sure why it was something that didn't get addressed back when the Legend of the Veil got released. Did anyone want to share any thoughts on that one, or are we good on that? And I think Static, you had one topic that you wanted to address.
Yeah, I do.
What you got?
All right. My crew and I have been talking about this for a while, and I don't know if anybody else has experienced it, but I'm sure you have. It's got to be addressed. Sharks are toxic.
Just sharks?
The spawn rate on sharks is insane right now. So let's say you pull your boat up to an island to like go kill a captain that's on there. You're in the water for a whole 2 seconds. You turn around, there's already a shark trying to get you on land. I cannoned off to go deliver fish to a sea post today, and I had to swim for a total of 10 seconds to get to the ladder. I got killed before I could make it to the ladder. Sharks instantly spawn on you now. It is absolutely disgusting. We dove down to a sunken ship to grab some treasure. Luckily, there was a trident in there. By the time I came out of the ship with the trident, there was 2 sharks on me. I killed the 2 sharks. A 3rd shark instantly spawned in front of me. I killed that one. Another shark spawned behind me. There was 4 sharks in a matter of 20 seconds, if even. We can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. There's just sharks everywhere.
I mean, I feel like the fix here is rowboats and not going in the water, right? Like, I mean, Jaws taught us, like, don't go in the water if there's sharks.
Right, I get it. I mean, but the spawn rate on the sharks have never been this bad. I don't know when this spawn rate changed. I understand you're in the water for a while, a shark comes out of nowhere. Yeah. But if I jump into the water off the boat by accident, there shouldn't be as soon as I turn around, there shouldn't be a shark winking at me going, "Hey buddy, what's up?"
So go ahead, Carl.
Well, I've got a bit of a fear on this. So I think the blame lies directly with Pooney. Obviously, everyone's seen how successful Pooney's been, going to try and give Hilarious hugs all the time and everything like that. Maybe these sharks are just wanting a bit of attention as well. Maybe they just want to cuddle. They want a bit of the limelight as well, perhaps.
So the last time this happened, it was in the lead up to let's see, we had this is the problem with doing a podcast for 6 years. I'm trying to remember what the original Megalodon event was called, the Hungering Deep. So the last time that we had this happen, we had the Shrouded Deep, and it was just an adventure. It was a way to get Merrick in trouble and then subsequently die. Which really should just be a lesson that we shouldn't be messing around with a Shrouded Ghost, especially now that I've killed it once. I think we can just take it out of the game and be good at that point. But I think that
you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Norwegian. I appreciate it. I think this is one of those things where it seems to happen every other season, where something in the world, like one season it'll be sharks. Next season, it'll be ghosts. The season after that, it'll probably be ocean crawlers. But for whatever reason, every season, there seems to be one enemy type that accidentally gets the spawn rate just out of whack. And I feel like this is something that we've seen quite often with things like where you just can't even go onto islands. And then like 3 or 4 patches will come out and they'll say, hey, we've reduced the number of encounters, so it should be safer to get on islands. And that's completely not true. And then it'll be like sirens the next season. But it's definitely something that I think Rare needs to address. It's odd to me that in this conversation, in this one podcast, we're talking about how they hotfixed the amount of value for Athena treasure on sea forts because of people exploiting how much you're able to get. But they can't go in and tweak the sharks, which are just rampart. It is absolutely insane. I genuinely, I joked about using rowboats and not getting in the water. That is what I've had to do most of the time, because every time I do, a shark usually shows up, and it is exceedingly fast. So I don't blame Static for being frustrated by it at any point, because it is out of hand. But it's funny what things get attention from the devs when it comes to stuff. If it affects ledgers and stuff, it's not good. But if it affects how often you're able to jump into the water and not get attacked or bit right away, that will let slide.
I mean, you can't, if you get into a ship battle with another crew, you can't even get into the water to board their ship. I'm more worried about getting killed by a shark trying to climb the ladder than I am getting blundered or shot with a sniper trying to get onto their boat.
Yeah, it does impact dives as well. Like if you're trying to do Hourglass this weekend and the sharks are as toxic as they are, it's less of a reason for you to want to try and get aboard, which is unfortunately a lot of the ways that you have to secure those sinks is by getting on board and locking them down and trying to stop them from being able to repair, because they can just sail off in a direction and repair and bail and come back into the fight, and it just prolongs the fight. Regis, I know you know all about that. How's the PvP matches with all these sharks?
It's getting really annoying. I getting annoying basically.
I know you're murdering everyone you come across, but have you had to deal with the sharks as of late?
Yes, and it's they definitely spawned faster. Like I tried to do like one of those merchant lost shipments. When I get to the ship, like they were like, I swear I saw like one shark spawn like as soon as I got in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
I think Pony may have boosted the morale, but that's...
You guys think that's rough? I'm fishing for island hoppers right now with those sharks.
So that I was you mentioned that in chat, and I was like, what is the situation going on there? Because I usually when I shop for when I fish for isle hoppers, I'm usually on a beach, like shooting into like Mermaid's Hideaway is like my go-to.
I'll send a picture next time I'm doing it, but you're just standing there on the shore and they're just staring at you, saying, "Come on in, water's fine."
It's like a cat is telling you that it's food time.
That's pretty close, actually.
All right, I'm looking at what we had to cover for this episode. I think I've got all of my questions taken care of. Was there anything that you all have experienced that you want to address and get out in the open during this therapy session?
I just have one question. Maybe I'm just looking for a friend or a shoulder to cry on, somebody to hold me and tell me it's okay. But why do you get hit by lightning when you're fishing for stormfish and you get the rare one? Why?
You know what? You say
Please
that.
Help me, Rare.
I've been fishing stormfish recently. I've not been hit in ages, and I was actually thinking, it's like, this is really weird, because when I was doing it for the Legendary Hunter, it was like all the time. But
oh man, no, it's bad right now. I've been hit twice in one day.
So I can give you a little insight on why you keep getting hit by lightning. One, there's always the random chance that, yes, you will get hit by lightning while you're fishing. But what increases those odds, if the last thing you were holding before you switched to a fishing rod was your sword, it increases your chances greatly.
So in other words, hold pineapples.
Hold anything. Hold your rifle, hold food, anything but your sword before you switch over to the fishing pole. Because for some reason, I was looking into this, it still registers that your sword is theoretically equipped on you, even though you're holding the fishing rod. So the lightning just draws straight to you.
That would be a big problem because I always have that sword equipped.
I was really hoping you would come out and say, well, I double gun. So what now? What's going on? But you didn't. So I lost out on that opportunity.
No, but I am a walking lightning magnet right now. So there you go.
I did want to ask, actually, Carl, go ahead. I saw you open up your mic.
I was just going to say, if you tried changing your fishing rod, maybe go for like the splash tail one or something. A bit more fish friendly.
I've got a very friendly one. I've got the rubber ducky one. It's about as friendly as you get.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
One of the things that I we talked a little bit about Skull and Bones when we were talking about the PlayStation. I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to watch any gameplay or even play the game yourselves, but when I'm playing in that game and I'm sailing around and I happen to stumble into a storm, the atmosphere in Skull and Bones is such a vastly different experience compared to Sea of Thieves that I genuinely am envious of the storms in Skull and Bones. There are things in that storm that feel more authentic to an actual storm at sea than what we currently have in Sea of Thieves. And one of the things that I wanted to call out about that is lightning flashes. The way lightning flashes happen in Skull and Bones feels like when you're at home and there's a thunderstorm passing by and a flash of lightning happens and the whole world it's like somebody turned the lights on and then turned the lights off real quick. You can see like everything's illuminated and then it immediately goes dark. That happens in Skull and Bones in such a beautiful way that every time I think about like what is lightning like in Sea of Thieves, the only thing I can think of is it's a bolt of lightning that usually hits a crewmate when they're trying to do something, and then it sets the ship on fire. We rarely ever see lightning strikes in the water. We rarely ever see the lighting actually address like the environment whenever it goes off. It doesn't like you can't be sailing near a storm and have it be overcast and have a lightning strike and then have it kind of have that illumination, that flash that happens in an actual storm. And I really hope that if there was ever a time when these games were going to be compared to each other, I hope that it's something where the environmental aspect of Skull and Bones is looked at from that perspective and then taken over to Sea of Thieves so that they can take a look and see like what are we doing that we could maybe be doing a little bit better, because I think that the storms in Skull and Bones far outweigh what we experience in Sea of Thieves right now. And I don't know if that's just because of the size of them or not. Maybe the storms just need to be better. I remember talking about this forever ago about how you can be in a storm in Sea of Thieves that is on an island, but you're not getting swells of water from the waves, and you're not getting like hurricane winds on the actual island itself. But I'm very curious to hear if have any of you had an opportunity to see what this is like? Have any of you had a chance to see just like what it feels like?
So I've only put a couple of hours into it, and I've avoided the storm purposely twice. However, you have just sold me to go and sail into the storm on purpose now.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it.
Please do, because it's such a different experience than what we're used to, that I'm like, how are other people not talking about how good the storm is? Like, yeah, there's rogue waves that you have to worry about that can like smash your ship, but it just like atmospherically, it is so cool to be in one of those storms in Skull and Bones. And I'm gonna see if I can find like some footage that I've taken of this and clip it out and throw it in the chat for you guys to be able to see, because it's just so well done. I'm like so impressed by it. I don't know why it sticks out in my mind.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, Skull and Bones has to have something that makes them better at something than Sea of Thieves. I mean, even if you don't like Sea of Thieves, if you're someone who doesn't care for this type of game, a lot of companies have praised Rare for how gorgeous their water is.
Yeah.
So I mean, like Rare has said themselves, if you're going to have a game involving seas, well then your main thing better be your water better look good. So they have a pirate game where you're on a ship, you don't actually come off of it. Well then maybe their big shining moment is let's make these storms really crazy, really realistic.
Yeah, they definitely could have. I can't wait to see if I can grab a clip of this to share with you guys, because I think it'll be really interesting to get your thoughts on this afterwards. But overall, I think that there's definitely some love to be shared about Skull and Bones, even if it's not the thing that everyone wanted. I think that they've definitely done a good job in some aspects of it. And I'm curious to hear more people kind of get their hands on it at some point. Alrighty. I know Regis had to take off. It is past the time that I usually have you guys stay on. I know, and that's my fault for staying late, but I wanted to reach out and put it on the table. If you guys had anything you wanted to address, we can definitely address that now. Otherwise, we'll probably call this a job well done and get back onto the seas. Alrighty. Well, if everyone's good, then let's go down the list. Regis had to take off. No stories, as far as I know, that Regis has been able to put out as far as their fanfics. But definitely, if you have any questions, head over to the Discord and check in with them if you wanted to check any of that stuff out. Carl, we're heading out. Anything you want to promote or share or say as we log out on this episode?
There's only one particular thing I want to address and say, which is we believe in Obsidian Underpants. I believe it's a very worthwhile course, and I think it would be a great addition to the game. But other than that, no, all good my side.
Fair enough. That's if you guys don't know, there's a leader and oh my gosh, what's his handle?
Loki. Maybe.
That's why. They are the Underpants crew. They've been championing over in the UK the Obsidian Underpants because we have pants in the game. You can change the color of them if you want, but there's no Obsidian kind. So there's been a post out. I think it was Behaving Beardly who had effectively like committed to the Obsidian Underpants crew, which was nice to see. Carl, you're correcting me. It's Germany. Technically, yeah. Loki and Leader and Anja are in Germany. But I remember it from when they gave a pair of underpants to Mike Chapman at SOT Fest. So that's unfortunately that's my point of reference. But yes, they are German.
That's a great image, that is, to be fair, though.
Yeah, it was entertaining. It was a really good moment. But yeah, it's fun to see folks championing on the Obsidian Underpants. I have no umbrage with. I'm totally fine with that. Outside of that, let's head down the next list and call out Norwegian. Norwegian, we're heading out. Anything you want to shout out or say?
As always, if you need help, reach out to the Sherpa. Great group of people willing to help you and teach you. And it's also going to be a good thing for all the PS5 players. So, and welcome, PlayStation players. We're coming for you. Be ready.
We'll have at least one or two more Gold Hoarder episodes, I think, at this point, before we actually get that launched. So I'd be curious to see like how cross progression works, if it does or it doesn't. Because I'm probably going to be buying a copy, so I can't wait to see if they're going to re-release the Black Sea Dog set for it or not. Besides that, Static, we are heading out. Anything you want to shout out or say before we close out?
Yeah, by the time this podcast comes out, I hope everybody had a great community weekend, and I hope you got a good amount of pop-up plunder. And as always, I'm still waiting on my bagpipes and crystal pigs.
The crystal pigs. Oh my god, I forgot all about the crystal pigs. I'm sorry. It's such a good want. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks to everyone for hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys bearing with me as I was streaming and completely let the time get past me on that. But pirates, that's gonna do it. So thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.